Hello, beer tubers, and welcome to another beer review with me, Peter, the master of hoppets. Today, checking out a fairly iconic American craft beer that I was sure I had reviewed so that this would be a Throwback Thursday episode, but I have not. So we're finally getting around to reviewing a can, and a big can, of Dale's Pale Ale. Dale's American Pale Ale by Oskar Blues. Apparently the first canned craft beer in the States. They boast about it here on the back. When Dale started hand canning his hopped up mother of a pale ale at Oskar Blues Brewery, the beer industry laughed. Then they cracked open a can, the original craft beer in a can. Dale's Pale Ale revolutionized the American craft beer world, and today is still stomping on the status quo and fueling adventures. So I remember that, in the past when we would get Oskar Blues in Europe, we got all the canned stuff. And I think even I might have traded in the beginning for Oskar Blues, but 1050 was a big thing for me back in the day. The barrel-aged varieties, Old Chub. Some of these beers were some of the ones I sought out. Kind of like Surdy as well. That was also one of those early canning guys. So yeah, I never reviewed Dale's Pale Ale. I've tried it, but I thought, hey, let's give this a review because recently we got a big selection of all the Canarchy brands, which is the sub-parent or the sub-company under Monster. So Monster is the parent company. Then they have Canarchy, and Canarchy has Oskar Blues, Cigar City, one or two more breweries. I don't remember them. The brewery, or the parent company, Monster, famous for now doing a lot of damage at Cigar City, firing Wayne Wombles. What the fuck? I'm not even sure. And also, closing down the original location and turning that into was it flavor development lab or something? It's so funny how the strategy has been with this. Because whenever people spoken out about all the fired employees and anything about changing things, they just ignore everything. They post all their social media stuff on the Cigar City page, but everything about what happened is just being totally ignored. And I think that's to try and steer away from some kind of shitstorm. I'm not 100% sure. But this is a beer I think that is widely available and highly distributed all over the States. It spawned quite a few variants. You can get Dale's Light Lager and Dale's Double IPA as well, besides the Pale Ale. And it must be inspired by the iconic Pale Ale, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. One of the most famous American pale ales. You can even see that by the color. So yeah, 6.5% alcohol, quite strong. I mean, a lot of people would call that an IPA. I can't remember what the threshold is for American pale ale in terms of ABV. Wow, 6.5. I actually thought it was lower ABV. Okay, interesting. And then these massive cans, 1 pint and 3.2 fluid ounces. This is almost the same size as the original Bombers, just in a can. It was the same with the Highline and stuff like that. It's funny. What we got here in Denmark of these beers recently were all in this size. So this is interesting. This brewed and canned by Oskar Blues Brewery in Lognmont, Colorado. Also Brevard, North Carolina, and Austin, Texas. So they produce this all over the place. This was canned on the 12th of March, making this can around 4 months old. So, and this was kept in the fridge at the store I picked it up at, so I'm hoping we're still going to be good. Let's see, because Highlight was still pretty good for what it was. So let's check out Dale's Pale Ale and do a proper review of this beer. So it pours a color that you probably remember from American hoppy beers in the past. Loads of crystal malt. Look at this. It's a dark mahogany, amber-hued beer. And it had a very frothy beige head when I poured it out. Let's check out the aroma. Ooh, very grapefruity. So it's Centennial, Cascade, and Comet hops, I think. Very, very, very grapefruity. And it has that sugar-coated grapefruit aroma because of all the crystal malt, toffee notes. This smells like the beers you would drink hard back in the day. This is so nostalgic to smell. When I studied in Albuquerque, New Mexico, there was I was trying so many different beers, but if I was at parties, I would often mix 6 packs because you could do that at a local liquor store, or sometimes I would just get a sixer of Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, or I don't think I ever got Dale's Pale Ale, but beers that smelled like this until I discovered La Cumbre locally. It was oh shit, we need to drink La Cumbre all the time. There was also another really good local IPA, Marble IPA. And there was also a good one, Santa Fe IPA, I think was good, from New Mexico. But yeah, that crystal malt thing, there's almost like a bit of spice to it. Like marmalade on toast, slightly sugar-coated pink grapefruit vibe, a bit of pine resin, a black tea a little bit, but it's not like it smells so different than when you got American beers in Europe in the past, because you could smell they were starting to oxidize. You can't smell that here. Like it's not got the same old smell as those beers. And I think it's also even harder to tell in beers like this with a lot of kettle hops and crystal malt. It's not like as vibrant and bright as like modern hoppy beers are that fall apart quicker. I think these beers last longer on the shelves. And it smells good though. Let's try it. Cheers. Really damn old school. Almost like nutty. Nice bitterness. It's not like crazy abrasively bitter, but it's bitter. It's in the vein of something like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. It's very, very, very pleasant to drink. It's funny though, just recently having from the same parent company, Cigar City High Life. High Life seem much more juicy, much more like modern. This is like classic American Pale Ale, almost like IPA. I can see maybe why they've stuck to also the Pale Ale category, because it's maybe not as like bombastic and aromatic and tasty as like classic American IPAs were. They were a bit more bitter than this and a bit more hop centric even. But there's like so much, throwback to a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale in this. Like loads of that pink grapefruit, sugar-coated pink grapefruit, resiny, spicy black tea kind of notes on the back, like almost slightly earthy too, and really tree sappy, piney bitterness to it, paired with like crystal malt flavor that's like toffee, crackery kind of, crackery, maybe almost like brown bready. It's not really crackery, just lightly up front. It's more like you have like brown bread with like some kind of citrus fruit, grapefruit marmalade or something like that, because it's like a little bit more robust than a lot of modern beers. And decent mouthfeel, kind of medium, not like rich or anything. And then it's like it's also crisp at the same time. It's like crisp at the same time as it's like slightly rich in the mouthfeel, and then it dries, like really like dries out the palate a lot. This is good beer still. Like I would be happy to drink this. This is really, really old school American Pale Ale. It's very awesome old school American Pale Ale. It's not like blowing my mind, but I still think a beer like this deserves a 90. This feels so much more true to what like these kind of beers have been always. It doesn't, like it's been so long since I drank a Dale's Pale Ale, but it doesn't feel like this has changed. It's not like the Lagunitas IPA brewed in Europe. That really felt macro and felt like it's changed. This is how I remember a beer like this. And it's very similar to the experience of drinking like a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. It's just a good beer. And it's amazing. Like this is almost 4 months in the can and it's drinking so nicely still. Like it's good stuff. No one brews beers like this anymore, of modern brewers. So if you want to check out what American Pale Ales used to be like, it's like this is what you got to get, because this was how they were. And you can see how tight this is brewed, because so many people try to imitate this and the beers end up being so messy compared to this. Like this is so clean and tight. Like you sometimes get these like attempts at making these more old school IPAs, and like this is fairly clear. And then you get them, they're like lightly hazy. They feel like a little bit muddy and then like bitter at the same time. And it's just like a mess on the palate. Well, like if you have to do this, it needs to be as tight and as clean as like a lager in terms of fermentation and the cleanliness of it and everything. Like it needs to feel clean, so only hops and the malts and the bitterness shine. Nice stuff. So if you guys had a chance to try Dale's Pale Ale, let me know what you thought of it. Pretty iconic American beer. from Colorado, from Oskar Blues. So if you guys had this one, let me know what you thought of it. As always, remember to comment, subscribe, check out the Facebook fan page, and Twitter and Instagram. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and ring the bell for future notifications about videos. And I'm going to say cheers. And see you guys in with the beer review. And in with saying, think a more rich Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. And maybe a little bit more hoppy and bitter. That's kind of like, almost like, remember when they did Imperial Pale Ales? I guess this is almost something like that. But it's really good. So cheers. See you guys in the beer review.